welcome to episode 13 of the Hockey Dummies podcast. Pat, what's crack-a-lackin'?
Sweet fuck all.
Well, I just got a message. Before we get into everything, I just got a message from the whale in our hockey pool asking me to give him a call. So Patty and I are going to call him in. So
Give him a call and not tell him he's coming on the pod.
yeah, he has no idea he's coming on the pod. But we're going to call him in right meow.
All right, meow.
All right, meow. Let's see. Should we tell him that we're actually putting him on? Or should we just...
As soon as he comes on.
Hey, buddy.
Welcome to the Hockey Dummies podcast. How you doing, man?
Well,
Yeah,
what's gonna happen?
you are on live. What?
Am I live?
You are live.
Well, you're
to
not really
tape.
live. You're going to be recorded.
Live to tape.
Oh, I need to be live so I can drop F-bombs like the rest of you bastards.
You can drop as many but just because I'm taking a reduced sentence on F-bombs doesn't mean the whale can't drop in here. So
For every F-bomb that whale drops, you do 5 push-ups.
I don't know about that. What do you got shaking over there, Whale? You got Kapanen coming at me. You got hockey pictures. What do you got on the go?
No, I've been in contact with an artist for about past 2 years.
Right.
He's a fantastic artist, and he finally came out with a coloring book with the
Oh,
Blue Jay art.
nice.
It's gorgeous. I just finally got them. And I got one for your boy.
Nice, man. Jack will love that. Thanks, buddy.
They're gorgeous.
What have you gotten me, Pat? What are you getting me and my
You're
family?
not getting shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a shock. There's a shock.
Yeah, you see what I have to deal with every week? Well, I figured if you wanted to give a call, I'd get you on so you can hang out with us for the NHL headlines for the week. Would you be into that, Whale?
Headlines for the week.
Yeah.
When? Tell me when.
All right. Well, you just stay there, and I'm gonna roll the old intro out. Okay. So this week we're gonna be talking about each team's top fantasy prospect in the Central Division. We're also going to be talking with Dobber Prospects guru Peter Harling a little bit later about the World Junior Championship. And we'll get into our typical pack 'em up and a little buzzes.
Pack 'em up right
action.
now.
Just pack 'em up right now. But first, let's get into the NHL headlines for the week with the Whale.
Oh, the whale's here. The whale's half of the bag.
So
When aren't you half in the bag?
how many?
Where's my beer, Pats? Where's my beer?
Yeah,
It's
that's
coming.
That's what I
true.
asked.
I'll bring it to you on Boxing Day.
Was that year one that you guys lost the beer bets
I don't
to the
really
Whale?
remember.
And
No, it wasn't your
It was,
one.
what's his name?
what was the bet?
Oh, it was
Is he
fucking
still in the league?
Bolesky. It was, yeah, he
Bolesky.
came up for a couple games and then they sent him back down. Yeah, it was if he was going to score 20 goals when he signed with the Bruins.
Right.
And he scored like 4. No, I think he had like 13 or something.
Oh, that's not a shocker. That I think Whale would have paid up. Pats didn't.
The only
so-
problem is that Whale wants a 2-4 of Guinness, which
yeah.
is like $80.
Yeah. Well, hey, you guys didn't
Oh, it's not
stipulate.
$80.
You're
They're
getting
on
a buck
sale
of beer.
right now.
You're getting
There
a
you
buck
go.
of beer.
You want to give him Laker
beer.
Lager? And,
Yeah.
I don't want.
You're getting
I don't want
Brava.
Rob Ford beer. I don't want Rob.
You know what I'm
Ford
going to do?
beer.
I'm just going to go brew my own, and then I'm
Right.
going to give you the equivalent of a 2-4.
and why don't you just
It
piss
cost
in a
me
couple
like,
of bottles
I
and
can do that
hand it
too.
over?
It cost me like $8.
All right, well, let's get back on the rail here, fellas. Now I got two of you to deal with. We got Steven Stamkos has recorded his 700th career point. I'm
Should have
looking.
been as a Leaf.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at that 2008 draft, and the next closest person in points to him is Erik Karlsson with 540. So, and I know that there was a lot of back and forth that draft about Hedman going first overall, or it was Stamkos or Hedman. But yeah, you gotta like those career points for Stamkos.
Then
on that.
he missed like almost like 2 seasons in total
Right.
too, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's still like the third highest score in that draft with about 450 something. So I didn't write it down. Is your boy Jordan Eberle, who you keep shitting on, Pats.
All 20 of his points this year.
Yeah, well, hey, he's third from that draft,
Yeah.
and you got
Oh no.
what?
Bottom line, that draft. I remember watching it when Ottawa drafted Erik Karlsson. I was like, "Who's this skinny little
Yeah, I know, man.
boy?"
He looked like
I'm
a
like,
a cute little girl.
Wow.
With
a little
I thought he was a girl.
Yeah, yeah.
No
Pirate
offense.
mustache.
No, he went 15th overall. and that looked to be the steal of that draft that year, right? Like that was a great pick by the Sens.
I was utterly in shock. I'm like, this guy's like 20 years away.
And now
And,
he's
yeah.
he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. So good on him.
Yeah.
And you got
Let's be honest. The NHL Hall of Fame is a crapshoot.
Well, yeah.
well,
How's McGillney not in the Hall of
I
Fame?
know. I've been saying McGillney forever. Just the fact that he like defected and came over, like just the story and the fact of what he has done for hockey and for hockey players in Russia. Yeah, exactly. Like he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm
because he's a Lady Bing winner.
wow, whatever, man. I'm like, hey, if you can win a big trophy in the NHL, good for you. Good for you. Moving over to the Oilers here, they're getting things done under Ken Hitchcock. They have just been lighting it up, and Leon Draisaitl and McDavid have combined for 25 points in their last 6 games.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. Like, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on what Hitch brought to the table?
Knowledge. Coaching skills.
Well, definitely defense, right?
Yeah.
And that team unit. So I don't know if he just kind of
They
put
just
the
lost.
fear
They
of God
just
into
lost
them.
Clefbaum though for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, they did.
So that's a big blow right there.
But they're still getting the job done, right?
Yeah.
And Mikko Koskinen has I packed them up in my other league.
Yeah, they took Talbot out of the crease. Away you go.
Yep. What's that, Will?
I just don't know about the whole old school coaching. It only lasts so long.
Well, it's
Hitchcock has been around. He goes in, he goes out, he goes in, he goes out.
well, he's back in and he's doing wonders. He's doing
And who traded McDavid?
Seals
Fucking Seals.
Yeah.
for Jack Eichel
For
and
Jack
Brandon
Eichel and a bag of
Manning
pucks.
and something else that wasn't that good.
Bags of
So
bucks.
Brandon Manning has been on the waiver wire. For
Yeah.
about,
I think Seals just picked him back up.
Did he? Did he
Probably,
really?
probably did.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, the
Even if he didn't, he's gonna.
the Oilers have just been doing well, and moving over to a team that hasn't been doing very well. It's the Philadelphia Flyers. Actually, Whale, you and I were talking about this as I was driving home tonight.
I don't get it.
Yeah, they fire Hackstall. Like saw that one coming.
Well,
like,
for sure, yeah.
Once Hackstall went down. And like if you had to get rid of one of them, I would have said it should have been Hackstall first.
Right.
But I
Yes.
guess with Hextall not wanting to fire him, that's why he got canned. But the Flyers sit last in the East. They've lost their last 2, and I was looking at their goals for versus their goals against. They're a minus 23 as a team,
Jesus.
and their goaltending situation. Like I don't know if it's gotten better or worse, but Carter Hart, who we were talking about, saying that he at least needs another full year in the AHL,
At
maybe
least.
more, at least.
Actually, I think he got over a 900 save percentage finally.
Well, in the AHL,
Yeah.
his last 4 games have been better than what he has at the beginning of the season. But man, coming into this team, it's one thing, and I think, Will, you said that it could be a good thing for him that goalies of this pedigree can kind of come in sometimes and really take the reins. But man, taking the reins on the last place team in the East and that team defense.
Sean Burke.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Sean Burke with the New Jersey Devils.
Right.
Took him to the playoffs and almost took him to the finals.
So
Came
you're,
from Team Canada. Oh,
So-
hey, if you're that good.
Are you calling the Flyers to the playoffs? You
No, I'm
might
not
be able to get
calling-
your
no.
beers back here, Pat.
No, I'm not calling
this.
the playoffs. There's too much wrong.
No,
there's too much wrong with that team. There's too much everything wrong with that team. I have no clue why, but there's too much wrong with that team.
Do you know who they need? They need Ken Hitchcock. That's who they need. I swear. That's who I think that they need. They need a better team defense because they have offensive weapons. They have good defense, and their goaltending is crap.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey,
Well, that's the thing. They don't give up a lot of shots.
Right.
So they're fucking
their
goalies.
goaltending. Yeah, like they.
Yes,
I heard.
but here's the thing: they've had goaltending problems since.
Hextall.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
shouldn't
since
have
Hextall.
gotten rid of goalie Bob.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know what they had in goalie Bob.
Well,
right?
And now
That's
they're
their
saying
fault.
they're going to resign. They're going to try to go after him in free agency.
And they're
Okay,
gonna
so
he's
you
gonna
gave
get
him away for
murdered over
nothing.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to turn into Brizgalov again. Start looking at stars in the woods.
Fuck.
But
How many? If you actually go down the list of how many goalies the Flyers have actually had since Hextall,
Hey, Steve Mason had a good year.
did he? Though?
it's-
I think he
No,
had
that
one
was in
good
Columbus.
year.
That was in
No,
Columbus.
he had a good one in Philly.
Oh,
I think he had like one where it was like, oh, those are NHL quality numbers.
right.
And then he just went for a shit.
right. Well,
like back in the day, hey, let's sign John Van Beesbrook over Curtis Joseph.
right. Yeah, that's not a good call.
No.
No.
And the Leafs ended up with Joseph.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out for us very well. And then after Joseph and Belfour,
Yeah, Eddie.
after they left, we
Eddie
didn't
the
have
Eagle.
anyone for a long time until Freddie.
Yeah.
You know,
What do you mean? We had Raycroft.
yeah, we had
Stud.
Toskala. We had Reimer. Hey, don't you have Reimer on your
Yeah,
fantasy
shut up.
team? Okay, shutting up.
Hey, Whale, Reimer's available.
Well, if Vancouver and our hockey pool's listening to this, he needs a goalie bad. He only has one right now, one NHL goalie with.
He won't take anybody.
No,
he doesn't
I
know how
know.
to make a trade.
No, I know.
No, he sucks.
Actually, I offered him
Poor
straight
Van.
up. I offered him straight up 1-for-1 Nylander for Goudreau.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. Goudreau's having a lights out year, and Willie stinks.
He's
Ever
great.
since Willie came back, we haven't
Fuck
been able
you.
to win.
Fuck off.
But we'll get into that a little bit down the line here. But
Yeah, but again, it's catch-22. It's everyone goes on who's hot. Goudreau was not very good last year,
this year
he's
he
okay.
is a stud.
and this year he's a stud. And Nylander was a stud last year, and he's going to be a stud again.
Yeah, there you go.
They're okay.
He's got
Well,
to
if the whale
get
says
his
so.
legs.
Well,
He's
moving
got to
over,
get
be
his
fine.
legs.
moving
He'll be
over to some goal scorers that are happening this year in the NHL. Right now, 11 players are currently on pace to hit 50 goals.
Pats has 3 of them.
Yeah, you do actually. You got Ovi's on pace for 68. Matthews and Laine are on pace for 63. Pasternak and Skinner are on pace for 56. Point is on pace for 54. Atkinson and McKinnon
McKinnon.
are on pace for 53. Pavelski, my boy, is on pace for 51. And Landeskog and Tavares are on pace for 50 flat.
Tavares. 3 Pats right there.
So I want to get both of your inputs. And Pat, you go first here. Of those 11 players, how many will actually hit 50?
All of them.
No, shut up. There's no way.
There's 11. I'm going to
Yeah.
go with 4.
4. And who? Like anyone off the top?
Well,
or
Ovi
you
for
picking
sure.
a number.
No, Ovi for sure.
Ovi. You got Matthew.
Probably Pasternak.
Yeah, I like Pasternak for
Yeah.
50.
Um,
Atkinson and McKinnon, because they're your guys.
I don't think Atkinson will. McKinnon has a
absolutely
shot
not.
at it because he's fucking phenomenal.
What are you
yeah.
thinking over there, Will?
I'm just thinking that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
What?
Pat's talking like these guys are going to hit 50. There's going to be like 2 guys hitting 50.
I said 3, you fuckhead. How far off is
Actually, you said 4.
Like I said 2.
Who are your 2?
Ovi hits, obviously. And I'm going to go ask you with Pasternak.
Yeah, I called Pasternak at the beginning of the year, so I'm sticking with it.
and Line 8 and McKinnon.
And
Screw you both.
Matthews.
No, not Matthews.
Right.
Matthews will get hurt again because he's with the whale now.
No,
Noodle
because
shoulders.
Well, boys, the last
Easy.
time there was even 5 50-goal scores in the NHL was the 2005-2006 season, and one of those guys could potentially get it this year. Ovi had 50 plus. Kovalchuk, our boy Danny Heatley,
The heater.
Jaromir Jagr, and Jonathan Chichu. That was the year
Jesus,
Chichu got 51.
Yeah, that was with Thornton in his prime.
Yeah, and then Chichu took a big Chichu.
Yeah.
And then he was off that. One of the big things that's kind of happening around the NHL right now, and now that we've kind of surpassed American Thanksgiving, is the trade bait board. So, that's kind of like in fantasy hockey with us, we're always talking about trades to make, but in the real NHL, this is kind of where it starts to percolate a little bit. So I just wanted to go over the top 10 on the trade bait board with you boys and let me know what you think. Colton Parayko, stay or go?
Go.
Go? Where's he going?
I don't know where he's going.
Toronto?
I hope he comes to Toronto.
I hope he comes to
Just
Toronto,
not for
too.
Nylander.
Yeah, he stays.
Yeah, you think he stays?
He stays. There's not enough assets to give up for him.
If
You
I was
wanna
St.
get
Louis,
Parayko?
he'd be one of the guys
You're
I'm
giving
not
up.
moving.
You're right. You're giving up. If the Leafs want him, you're giving up caps. You're giving up all this.
Give up Kadri straight up.
No. Nah, well, you know what? I probably
I'd fucking
would.
do it in a heartbeat.
I probably would trade
Kadri's
Kadri.
garbage this year.
He's not garbage.
He's
what's
dog
our
shit this
What's our
year.
Twitter poll out? Check that out. It was our Twitter poll.
There was like 5
Kad-
votes.
no, there was,
Kadri-
last time I checked, there was 20 something.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Last time
Kadri is so more valuable
well, our
than Nylander.
When he plays
yeah,
well.
and our poll was who is more valuable, Kadri at 4.5 or Nylander at 6.9. And the last time I checked, it was 80% at Kadri was more valuable to the
I
team.
picked Nylander.
Yeah, I didn't even vote. I didn't even have to vote, and it was at Kadri. But anywho, getting back in.
I hate Kadri.
Yeah, you guys both hate him,
Because he's a dick face.
but he's a great guy to have on your team.
No,
Sucks to
because you have a jersey of him. That's why I don't like it.
I do have a
And
jersey
it's a
of him.
Chinese knockoff
No,
jersey,
it's not.
too.
It's a legit
It's
jersey.
not legit.
Don't listen to
It looks
Pat.
terrible. It's not
That's
legit.
not the one that you have. It was.
I threw him in the garbage.
Yeah, you got a Clark
had a
one, but it was
Clark's
like
night.
Clark.
No, I have the St. Pat's Clark one.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one looks legit.
All right,
I had
back
a
to the-
Clarkson one.
You had a Clarkson
It
one.
went in the garbage.
Oh my God! Did you really throw it in the garbage?
It was
Did you
30
actually
bucks
have
from
a
China.
Clarkson
Yeah, I got it
jersey?
from China.
Right.
$30, and it looked like shit, and he played like shit, so I threw it away.
So you put it where the shit goes.
Yeah, I traded it to fucking Columbus.
Well, back to the trade bait board. What about Jake Muzzin? He's number 2 on the TSN
He's
trade
gone.
bait board.
Gotta go.
He's gone.
Their whole team's got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole team's got to go.
Well, and speaking of another player on the team, number 5 on the trade bait board is Jeff Carter. So I think Carter
Go.
Muzzin. Yep.
Trade him.
Well, yeah, you're dying because
Trade
you have him.
him. I'm dying for him to be traded.
Yeah. Well, I still like getting Kyle Connor from you for him. That 1-for-1 deal.
Yeah, suck it. Hey,
What
easy
episode was
McKinnon.
that? What, yeah, McKinnon,
Yeah, I know.
Lucic.
I
McKinnon, Lucic. Yeah.
All right, moving back to the trade bait board now.
He always changes the topic when
Your
when
boy,
that comes
Kevin
up.
Hayes, Pat. Do you still have Kevin Hayes or you
Sure
trade
do.
him?
No, 20 minutes a night as a center. I'm
No, I
keeping him.
know. I know.
He's on fire lately.
I think he's in Pack 'em Up later.
Better be and pick him up.
He's
Pick him
only
up every week.
44% owned in
That's
Fantrax
ridiculous.
leagues, and he's just been lighting it up. But yeah, he's number 3 on the trade bait board. You think he goes or stays?
I don't know. They were talking about trading him a while ago too, though.
Yeah, they have.
So
been.
it might just be, we're going to put him back out there.
I think he stays.
Yeah. What is he? He's 28, I think, somewhere around there.
Right.
Because they're going to lose, what, Zuccarello?
Yeah.
They're going to lose.
He's also on the trade bait
There's
board. He
another
came in
one.
at number 11, so he just missed. But yeah, no.
I'm a huge fan of Zuccarello.
Yeah, I'm a big Zuccarello fan too. He's like great for fantasy hockey.
And he's a champion because of the Team Whale.
Oh, he's a fantasy.
Yeah, this doesn't
top hockey
count in
league
real
champion.
life.
Well, number 4 on the trade bait board is Carolina Hurricanes defenseman Brett Pesce, right-handed defenseman. There's been a lot of talk swirling around Kapanen.
No.
Would you trade
No.
Kapanen for Pesce?
No.
No.
No way.
Okay.
Not a chance. Not
Okay.
a fucking chance.
All right. Stop yelling
I
at
wouldn't
me.
that's
even
the
trade-
thing-
I
that's
wouldn't
the thing
even trade for Dougie
with
Hamilton.
That's the whole thing with Carolina. Is they have a ton of DN,
Yep.
and the Leafs have
A ton
all
of
these
forwards.
great players, and they want a top 6 forward. There's
Yeah.
no way in hell I would give up this young talent
Would you trade?
for
a 3-4
I-
Would
man.
you trade Connor Brown in a second?
Oh,
for Brett
fuck
Pesce?
yeah.
Oh, Connor Brown.
All
Connor
day
Brown
long.
would be
Yeah. See you
like
later.
be gone.
If he's a-
I'd send Connor Brown a first and a second.
Jesus.
I'd give Connor Brown away for a third right now.
No, you wouldn't.
You
That'd
wanna
be
bet?
dumb.
he's a hard working kid. Good for you. Love you to death. But yeah.
You need results.
All right,
And he
moving
ain't
back
getting
to the board here. Charlie Coyle is up on the trade bait board in Minnesota. What do you think about Charlie Coyle? When I think about him, nothing is really kind of jumping off the page to me. Like I know Arizona is looking for a little bit more depth up the middle. That could be a good spot for him or Carter. So I'd be interested to see what they do. But I don't know. I maybe I just see Charlie Coyle as a Minnesota Wild.
And he didn't really seem like he's like progressing at all.
No,
He's just kinda
exactly.
stuck
Like when I see him as like a third line center role. I
like-
don't see him as a top 6 guy.
yeah.
So
No.
Trade him
Yeah,
straight up for
exactly.
Connor Brown.
Well, and then rounding out the top 10 here, we have Gustav Nyquist, Michael Ferland, Jimmy Howard, and Matt Duchene. Any thoughts on those guys?
Duchesne's going to get traded because he's not
Not gonna
resigning in
sign.
Ottawa. No fucking way.
What a bad deal for Ottawa that was, eh? Holy shit.
Oh, was it Turris and what?
And well, they gave up their first.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Not good at all, man. Lose for Hughes, but you can't get Hughes.
Wow.
So, and I've been talking about Jimmy Howard getting traded for the last couple of pods here. So we'll see if he comes and we'll.
It's funny because in our league there, you couldn't give Jimmy Howard away.
No, I know.
Now,
Well,
all
it's
of a
because of his
sudden-
cap.
I even
too, right?
dumped him in one of my other leagues.
Did you?
Boy. And I actually ended up second, so it was good.
And now all of a sudden the Detroit Red Wings, from what I read, is looking for a first-round pick.
Right. For Jimmy Howard.
Yeah.
Well,
Good night.
yeah.
Go to sleep.
Well-
See you later.
Well, hey, if they can get it, good on them. Good on them. Moving over to some chat about the Leafs here. The Leafs go 0-2 in Florida. I blame the moms, except for Bonnie
That's what
Marner.
you know what? And that's what I said to you. I'm like, it's because the moms are here. They're trying too hard.
But Bonnie Marner doing the floss
Yeah, I saw that.
kind of got a half chub.
Yeah, I saw that. That was quite
Is that a
entertaining.
swear?
And who
Wow.
who was the mother
No.
that was sitting beside her?
That was
Oh,
Matthew's
Dermot's
mom.
mom.
Wasn't it Matthew's mom the whole game?
I know
thought-
Dermot's mom, not so much.
No.
Marner's mom, how you doing?
It's because she's the same age as you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the big thing about the Leafs on this road trip in the last couple of games, their power play hasn't been clicking. It's,
No, that's the big thing right now. Is
Yeah.
the power play stinks.
yeah,
And you know, and you see what's happening, and they're talking about it during the games, and it's all everyone's focusing on Matthews now,
Right.
And they haven't made that adjustment yet,
right.
So like the rest of the ice is now open on the other side, but Matthews is still thinking he's the guy that's got to shoot, and he's not
Right.
making the plays yet. So,
Well, yeah.
But I mean, he could be a little bit rusty too. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
he was off for a month or whatever it was.
Well, their PP was
that-
1 for
the other night
22.
there, that was killing me. They had so many shots, and they had like
Hang on, we have a jumping child in
outshot
here.
22-8 or something like that.
Okay. Sorry, my daughter just came into the room screaming. We just got our new puppy, so I will be down there in a minute. I will be
We're
down
gonna have
there
to
in
go
a
see
minute.
the new puppy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go see the new puppy in a second here, but yeah, just with just the power play going 1 for 22, not being able to adjust, it's just not good enough, and that's their bread and butter, right? And with Babs saying, hey, we're not going to beat them in toughness on the ice.
Got that
but
right.
but we're gonna beat them with toughness on the power play and on the scoreboard, and it just hasn't been doing it. So let's get
So here's
some type
I'm gonna
of
flip
toughness.
your question back.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't you keep Matt Martin opposed to a Connor Brown?
Because he can't play hockey.
I
Well, he can
think
play
Connor.
hockey.
I think
He
Connor.
doesn't even play in Long Island.
I think
He's riding
Connor
the
Brown's a
Pines half
better
the time.
hockey player.
He is 100%.
Now,
But
it
when we
wouldn't-
play
it-
Boston, when we get spanked by Boston every single night,
That's why Tom Stestito got the PTO.
But I get to me the question wouldn't be about Martin or Brown. It would have been like, why bring in someone like Tyler Ennis to play on that? To me,
no, I was talking about salary cap, basically.
right. I don't know. I'm not really a Matt Martin guy. Like, I don't know. Do you guys feel like
I like
he-
Matt. I do like Matt Martin as he's like I said, like I think it was like episode 1 we talked about it, and
the missile?
he's kind but not like the man missile, just
right,
the missile.
just like the human missile.
But yeah, he's kind of like Chris Neal. Like he can play a little bit of hockey, and he's tough as hell.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know, man. I'd like. Did you guys find that we were tougher last year with having him in the lineup?
No, because they benched him for the last half of the season.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
Like,
doesn't
we-
matter.
but you could have put him out there.
We,
like,
well, we also had Komarov in there, who was a
he would
pretty,
hit.
and we had Polak. Oh, let's go with Polak.
Yeah.
And have,
I wouldn't mind Polak as a sixth defenseman right now.
Exactly.
He's playing
That's
20
what
minutes a
I've
night
been
in
saying.
Dallas.
Would you rather have Polak or someone like Erica Branson? Because I feel like they're kind of at the same skill level, but
Yeah, but Branson's making like 3 times as much as
Yeah,
Polak.
Polak makes $1 million, not even $1 million bucks.
Nah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, he's not good, but he's
I don't
tough.
I don't feel like he's the answer anyway.
No, he's not. You're never going to have a sixth defenseman that's the answer.
No,
right?
I know. But,
but even still, it's just
But
something
he's a
extra.
warrior.
Yeah, he's a tough guy.
Dmitry Yuskevich.
oh yeah, I
Yeah,
love you.
that would've been awesome right
I used
now.
to love using him in like NHL hockey for
That guy
Sega
was
Genesis.
crazy.
He would just blow people up.
90 was it NHL
that's-
94 or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
I
the
love
best.
Yuskevich. He was great back in the day.
But
Well,
that's
Until he
the
kissed
one.
Brindamore that one time.
yeah,
you
that was
have
weird.
those. You have those guys. You have that toughness. Somebody's scared. Now they're just taking runs at everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like Zach Hyman's our new tough guy.
Yeah, Zach Hyman.
Zach.
Hey, no, do you know what? I hope he continues to play this type of brand of hockey. I think he's going to be way more effective if he can. I'm not saying that I want him to go out there and fight all the time, but I want him to, keep playing on the edge and keep playing chippy and making it hard on other guys. So we'll see. But this wraps up the NHL headlines for the week, Berkey. So thanks a lot for coming on and hanging out with us, and we'll have to get you on again.
Yeah, we got to go see a puppy downstairs.
Yeah, well, fuck y'all.
Don't be such a
Oh.
dick. I'm coming
Yeah.
to your house on the 26th, by the way.
Yeah, Pat's is coming now.
Go pet your pussy.
Okay, it's a dog.
It's a dog and
Oh,
a pussy.
whatever. Same thing, same shit. All right, I'm talking about Pat's, but it's cat.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Man,
All right, later.
Fuck off, Whale.
later.
Well, that was a fun little treat here to have the whale join us. Now let's get into a little park on mop.
Pick him up right now. Pick him up. Pick him up. No, pick him up.
Look, there's some people want to ride too. Pick them up.
All right, here we are. We're going to start off with the goalies here in a little park on mop action. We got Peter Mrazek.
Pick them
Jesus,
up.
really? He's a pick him up?
He's a pick 'em up. Only owned in 36% of leagues. He posted a shutout this week and a .901 save percentage. So his other game wasn't great,
It was a disaster.
but he did get a shutout, and he's only owned 36% of leagues. So park 'em up. Park 'em up.
Pick him up right now.
Linus Ullmark.
Pick
I'm
them
surprised
up.
this guy's only 46% owned.
Yeah, only 46% owned. Had 2 wins in both of his starts this week, and had a goals against average of 2.46 and a save percentage of .924.
All-star numbers right there.
Pack 'em up.
Pick him up right now.
Laurent Brasson
Pick them up.
owned in 30.
The way you say French names is amazing.
Yeah, because it's not good. Owned in 31% of leagues.
You might as well call him Laurent Brassoit.
Well, I have to say, in my senior kindergarten year, I won the French award.
Oh, Jesus.
After that, it
Because
was
you learned how to
all
say
downhill.
bonjour.
I knew bonjour, I knew maison, and oiseau.
What the hell's bonjour?
Bonjour. No good?
Oh, my God.
Anyways, Laurent
people are gonna slap you.
Brosset is owned in 31% of leagues.
Call him Laurent Brisket.
And the Brisket picked up 2 wins in both of his starts this week with a goals against average of 3.00 and a .917 save percentage. Pack 'em up.
Pick up the brisket.
Pack up that brisket right now.
Slow cook that brisket.
Over on the defensive side of things, Mackenzie Weegar,
Pick them up.
only owned in 5% of leagues, was ranked the 6th best defenseman in all of fantasy hockey this year with our categories. He had a goal and assist. He was a +2 with 14 PIMs, 7 blocks, and his 15 minutes of ice.
14 pims is what put him over the top.
Pack 'em up.
Pick him up right now.
Jack Johnson,
Pick them up.
only owned in 19% of leagues. He had 2 apples, he had +4, 15 hits, 9 blocks, in 19 minutes of ice. Was that a side burp you just,
I just did a side
dipped
burp.
into?
Didn't want to do it right into the microphone.
No, that's nice. Thank you.
How's he getting 19 minutes of ice over there? Is he not playing on the third pairing?
Who else
with
they got over
Marcus Pedersen.
They got. I was thinking about this the other day. So if Elias Peterson is named after Norm Peterson, and Cal Peterson is named after Cliff Clavin, then that means Marcus Pedersen needs to be named after Mayday Malone. So now we can just call him Mayday.
Okay, we'll call him Mayday.
So yeah, no, I haven't looked into how the defense are being allocated in Pittsburgh, but what I do know,
They must have some injuries or something that we don't know about.
but Jack Johnson's getting 19 of those minutes.
Jesus.
And you
Unless
should-
they're taking a lot of penalties and they're just letting them kill penalties.
Pick him up.
Pick them up right now.
Matt Benning,
Pick 'em up!
only owned in 9% of leagues, had an assist. He was a +2, 13 penalty minutes, 9 hits, and 17 minutes of ice.
The fuck is Matt Benning?
Pick him up.
Is that Jim Benning's kid?
Pick him up right
Do you
now.
know?
I don't know if he's related to Jim Benning or not. He's a defenseman.
That might be where their similarities end.
Right.
They're both defensemen.
Well, does Matt Benning have a big forehead?
probably.
Because Jim Benning has a 5 head.
Yeah.
That thing is...
Jim Benning.
You could land a plane on that thing.
Jesus.
Moving over to the forwards, we got Pat's boy, Kevin Hayes.
Hayes,
Pick
pick
'em
'em up.
up!
Only owned in 44% of leagues. He picked up 3 goals, 4
What a
assists,
stud.
+3, 10 shots, 19 minutes of ice. Ranked the 14th best skater, forwards, defenseman, all of y'all. 14th overall in fantasy hockey this
I
week.
think his ice time's down a bit, only 19 minutes.
I think it was about 19 and a half.
Yeah, okay.
Number 2 on the list for Park on Mop this week, Brian Rust.
Pick 'em up!
He knocked the rust off this week. Only owned in 17% of leagues. And the guys on NHL radio were just taking a giant dump on him all week. But he
Yeah.
finally broke through. Like, he hasn't been playing up to his potential. And he got 4 goals, an assist, 16 shots, 7 hits, and 18 minutes of ice this week. Ranked the 17th best skater in fantasy hockey.
Jeez.
Park him up.
Pick him up right now.
Russ teammate, Zach Aston Reese.
Pick 'em up!
Czar.
The Czar.
The Czar, only owned in 24% of leagues. He had 2 goals, 2 assists, a +2, 9 shots, 27 hits, and he was a 67% in the dot.
27 hits?
27
Are you
hits.
sure that's not a typo?
Well, if you want to double check it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it said there.
Okay.
Pick him up. Pick him up right now. He was ranked 19th in all skaters this
Jeez.
week.
Wow.
Zach Aston.
I think actually
Reese.
Penn's has him in our league. I'm sure we'll try and get him.
Yeah, I actually traded him to him. I forget what I
Yeah, I
dealt
remember,
him for,
and then-
but yeah, I
yeah.
moved him.
Because you tried to move him to me for like a first.
Now let's get into a couple of the players that went down on Buzz's girl this week.
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
Woof. Starting off with the goalies, we got Benjamin Bishop.
Woof.
Explains why Kudobin is getting the starts.
Yeah, he lost
Kudobin?
all of his starts this week. He posted a 4.45 goals against average and an 863 save percentage.
Woof.
That's a woof. That's a woof right
Oh,
there.
do you want? I just found this out today, and I didn't even know.
What?
But the Buzz's girlfriend, it's actually like the producer or the director's son in that picture.
Really?
Yeah, and they just put a wig on because they were actually being sensitive, and they didn't want to just put some girl in there to be laughed at for her looks in
Right.
the movie for those 2 seconds that it was there.
Right.
So it was like, yeah, this kid said I'll do it, and he volunteered and just threw a wig on, and
So that's a dude?
it's a dude.
Whatever.
That's funny. I just read that today. I was
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah.
Well, still dipping around his boyfriend then. Semyon Varlamov.
Woof.
He did get a win, but he pulled up a goals against average of 4.49 and an 883 save percentage.
That's a big time wolf.
Yeah. And also, not as bad numbers as the other two, but Bobby Lou didn't put up great numbers either. He had a 3.44 goals against average and an 892 save percentage.
But he did get a win.
He did get
I
a
think it
win.
was overtime too. That was against the Leafs.
He squeaked. Yeah.
Yeah, he beat the Leafs.
Yeah. he
Good for him.
squeaked it
Good for
out.
you, Bobby Lou.
There you go. So those are the Wolf goalies for the week. Over on defense, you got Mike Green,
Woof.
0 points,
Okay, but he's hurt again. I'm pretty
but
sure.
he played in 2-3 games.
Well, then he's hurt.
0 points, 4 shots, 1 hit.
He's always hurt, so it doesn't matter.
Shea Theodore, was he hurt?
No.
Well, he had a woof week. 0 points, 2 shots, 2 blocks.
Woof.
No hits?
Nope,
Again, with the defenseman not hitting.
nope, not one.
Jesus.
And third, and last but not least, somebody who appears to make weekly visits
Weekly appearances to Buzz's
girl is the Ghost.
Woof.
0 points and a -5 this week.
No other stats, no nothing, no blocks, no nothing
It was
meaningful.
just it was minuscule. It was like
just
1 or
garbage.
2. But
Wow.
yeah, I was just looking at his no points with a -5.
Oof.
That was a big woof for me.
Jeez.
Moving over to the forwards who let us down this week, James Neal.
Woof.
Doing it every week though.
No, I know. He had an apple. He was a -4 with no hits and no blocks.
That's weird, but Neil's not getting any hits.
He's
That guy
not
used to
doing
hit all the
anything.
time.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, no, I'm going to be a pussy. Anyway.
Travis Konechny,
Woof.
0 points and a
But he's a
-5.
flyer, so
Yeah, I know.
their whole team's a -5.
I know. That's
Actually,
what I'm saying.
They're
Like,
a -23.
Buzz's
whatever it
girl's
is.
from Philly. Like, she's
She must be.
straight up a Philly fan. And last but not least was Max Pacioretty.
Go back to his have days.
He had an apple. He had 3 shots and 1 block.
Yeah, good job.
Not good enough.
Good job, Patches.
Not good enough. Now, this week, we're going to get to move over and talk with Dobber Prospect legend, Peter Harling. Peter is a great guy. He was the managing editor for Dobber for a very, very long time. He's still contributing to their content, and he is the host of the Dobber Prospect radio show. I actually did a little bit of prospect writing for Peter about a year and a half ago, but I just got too busy with work, and I just felt like I couldn't really keep up. Like a lot of the guys that I needed to keep an eye on I was looking at some of the guys in the LA Kings system, and I just wasn't able to actually watch them.
And you didn't really want to because they're shit.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It was 2 things. One was time, and the other was the fact that I never actually got to sit and watch these guys.
Yeah.
So to really give a good analysis, I felt like I was reading as much as I could about these guys and watching anything I could find on YouTube, and that was kind of it. And I just didn't feel like I was
Anybody can do that.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like I was good enough to meet my standard for what I would want to do for them, and they're a big reputable company, and I didn't want to let them down, let myself down, so I just decided to step away. But I always appreciated that, and Peter's a great person, and I love his podcast, so it was great that he could come on and hang out with us. So let's give a listen. All right, everyone, please let me welcome the host of the Dobber Prospect Radio Podcast and content editor for Dobber Prospects, Peter Harling. Peter, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and we're gearing up for the World Juniors, so I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. Now, if people want to get your insight on Team Canada and Team Finland, what you guys have to do is you have to go to the Dobber Prospect Radio Podcast and download episode 45, where Peter really gets into Team Canada, and you talk with one of your Finnish scouts about Team Finland, which was a great episode today, by the way. But I don't want to skip over Canada too much. Pat, who I do the pod with, he told me that I have to ask you one question, and that one question was, do you think that Jack Studnicka could make Team Canada this year?
Absolutely, he can. I was curious as whether or not he was going to make the NHL this year or not. He didn't, and that left Junior as the only option available to him. He's not old enough for the AHL yet. I don't think he's a lock to make the team by any stretch, but he certainly is a player that has the ability to make that roster. There's a number of players who are on the bubble. It's going to be really interesting to see which players make the cut and which ones don't, and try and figure out the reasons why, if they're looking at certain players for role situations. And then, of course, there's going to be some politics that go into it as well, usually. Players that have played and represented Canada before at other levels, like Joe Veleno, I think that gives him an advantage. He's captained Team Canada in other international tournaments before. Right. You've got players that are playing NCAA hockey that Team Hockey Canada might feel they kind of snubbed them going to play in the United States, not in the CHL. So it'll be interesting to see. The slam dunk players will obviously be pretty straightforward, but some of these players like Stednica, Lafreniere is another player I'm really interested in
Ooh, me
seeing if he
too.
makes the team.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm pulling for him. I said it on our episode 12 was I'm just pulling for him because I want to watch him. You know, I want to be excited to watch him. Whenever the younger guys come in, like Crosby or McDavid, I think Evander Kane ended up getting in when he was younger too because somebody got hurt. And just seeing those younger guys come in, it just kind of adds that next kind of level of excitement. So, and another thing that you mentioned on your podcast on episode 45 was just the amount of center depth that Canada has. And you're right, like, man, like they're gonna have to put some players on the wing, but that's never a bad thing, right? To have extra centermen on there, so they definitely know their defensive game, and they should be pretty good at winning the draw. The one other question that I have for Team Canada, and you know, this is just my personal preference. I got to watch him a little bit this year. Was Ryan Merkley not being invited to the selection camp? Do you have any insight on that?
No, that was a big surprise for me. I thought there was a lot of opportunity. I think there's 3 players that are slam dunks for defense on this team: Dobson, Bouchard, and Ty Smith.
Yeah.
That leaves 3 positions available. He didn't even get an invitation to the selection camp. This is a player that was the first overall pick in the OHL, is dynamite offensively. He excels with his skating and his vision. The fact that they didn't even entertain him with an invitation to the camp is very surprising. He was a wild card going into his draft year.
Yeah.
People say, this is a player who's top 10, top 5 ranking if you're looking at just his skill set alone. But I guess there's some other concerns with his game in terms of his maturity and consistency. Those aren't huge red flags for me because he's 17 years old.
Yeah,
so
you
he
can
might
grow
be a little
up.
bit. Yeah, and people tend to do that as they get out of their teenage years.
Yeah. Well, if anyone
as
would
a
have
draft
drafted,
in,
if anyone would have drafted me at 17, they would have been in for a rude awakening. But hey, I've come along, I've matured, I've grown within my game here, and I've blossomed into a good third line check and roll here.
Yeah, if Canada finds himself in a situation where they need some offense from the back end, they may be losing in a game, and it's a medal game, and they need to get some offense on the board, down a couple goals maybe. So they might find themselves in a situation where they're thinking, maybe we should have brought that Merkley guy. He could have been real handy right about now.
Yeah,
But Ty Smith, Noah Dobson, Evan Bouchard, those guys can carry the mail offensively from the back end, and they don't have the same warts in their game apparently that Merkley has. So I suppose that was
right. Yeah,
factors
I
at play
guess
there.
if you have those other guys that can do the same type of role, he just stood out for me so much at that OHL versus Team Russia game that I went and watched, and everything ran through him, and he was he was up in the play. He was great defensively. He was even laying big hits for a small guy back there, and I was just really impressed with him. I see what Doug Wilson saw in drafting him, and I was just really just surprised that he wasn't there. So I thought I'd check in on that. I'd love to go over some of the other rosters here with you. So like I said, go over and check out and download the Dobber Prospect Radio episode 45 podcast, where Peter talks a lot about Team Finland, Team Canada. But just wanted to get your insight on some of the other teams that are in the tournament. And because there's a couple teams that I don't know much about any of the players, and I was kind of going through the rosters, and it's exciting that all of the kind of the selection camp rosters have been announced. And as I go through Group A here, which consists of Canada, Denmark, Czech, Switzerland, Russia, and who am I missing here? Yeah, Canada, Denmark, Czech, Switzerland, and Russia. I'm looking at Denmark, and the Danes, they have 2 drafted players into the NHL. They have 2017 Red Wing pick, defenseman Malti Setkov, and 2017 forward Jonas Ronberg. I don't know much about these players at all, and I was just wondering, in general, like looking at the Danes, is there anybody that people should be keeping an eye on in this tournament?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's hard to get a really good read on a lot of the European prospects. It's just difficult to watch them play. They
Totally.
play in junior leagues in Europe. You have to be lucky and be able to catch them at a tournament. So Denmark doesn't really have any players that I, quite frankly, have a lot of firsthand information on. I rely on what I read online for the most part.
Yeah, same with me on those guys. And moving over to the Czech Republic, obviously you got Philip Cheadle, who's in the show, and I don't think he's going to be going over there. But you have guys like Martin Nikash and Zadina playing in the AHL. You got the Martin Kaut, former first rounder from Colorado. I'm really looking forward to watching him play. Is there anything you can tell us about those players or some other players on the Czech team that might be on the roster?
Sure. Yeah. So the Czech team, their first line, the players you just mentioned, Zadina, Nekash, and Martin Kaut, they're going to be the engine that drives that train for the Czechs. They're going to be a handful. They were very impressive in other international tournaments I've seen them play. Zadina has been a standout when I've seen him play live here in North America. I really like his game. He's got a little bit of everything. I wouldn't be, if you drafted him and you're thinking, oh, darn, I should have taken Svechnikov. He's in the NHL and Zadina's not. If it's a one-year pool, I would agree with that. But if you're in a keeper league, I wouldn't be hitting the panic button at all. Zadina's got a tremendously high ceiling. I would be really happy to be an owner of him in a fantasy league if I had one. So those guys are some obvious players you want to watch. Jakub Lackow, Boston Bruins draft pick. He's probably going to find himself on the second line. So he'll be getting some really good offensive opportunities, second power play minutes, but not going up against other teams' top defensive forechecking.
Right.
Staffen is another player I'm really interested in. I haven't seen a lot of him play, but I'm kind of familiar with him. One of the leagues I'm in is the Roto League, so it's got a lot of multi-cat categories, so hits and blocks and whatnot. And this is a big kid. He's got some offensive upside. So he's a player I'm really interested to see how he fares in this tournament against the elite in his age group.
Is he a defenseman?
No, he's a winger, so
Okay.
he'll be probably on the second line as well.
Nice, big power forward. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, moving over to the Swiss, I've actually watched a lot of the guys on this team. Well, a couple of the guys, Nico Gross and Nando Eggenberger. I have season tickets down with the Jennies, so I've gotten to watch them a lot. And Gross being a Rangers draft pick, he's just a good, steady, kind of complete player back there. He's tough, and I love watching him play. And I didn't realize that Eggenberger went undrafted last year, and he's got a great engine. He's a great skater. He can finish. And yeah, I guess he was passed over last year, but they're looking that he's going to be, potentially a second or third overall pick this year. What can you tell me about these guys, or maybe a couple of the other guys that might be playing for the Swiss team?
Sure, yeah. Nando Eggenberger is an interesting player. At the start of his draft year, he was ranked as a potential first-round player. And last year, he just had a really terrible season. He really struggled at every level he played at. He played in a couple different leagues, junior, the NLA. He made the World Juniors for Switzerland last year, and he held pointless. So his stock just really plummeted. I don't have a lot of opportunities to watch him play. He's doing okay in the OHL this year. You've probably seen him play a lot more than me. It'd be interesting to see if he's able to regain some of his draft stock. I'd be surprised if he went undrafted this year. Now that he's in North America, he's shown a commitment to making it in the NHL by coming across, adjusting and playing in the North American size ice. He's playing well. This tournament will have a real helpful, I wouldn't say huge impact, but it could really get him back in the conversation with
Right.
a lot of prospect writers and scouts and stuff, and NHL scouts. They'll be watching for sure.
Yeah. Well,
You can't
Sorry, go ahead.
can't hurt your draft stock at the World Juniors, but you sure can't help it. Having a really great tournament.
Yeah, no, he's one thing that I read on him today was that the scouts weren't sure if he was actually going to be coming over to North America, so they actually wanted to see him actually come over here and play. And man, he's been given a great opportunity playing on that top line with Stanika and Sarah Noel. So those three together have been dynamite this year, and I've actually been treated. I didn't know much about him until going in and watching all the games this year. So it's been a treat, and I just went and picked him up in my league. The way that we run, the way that we run our league is that if you've already been draft eligible, but you haven't, but you got passed over, you can come back into the other draft. You can go and pick those guys up. So I think a couple of people, Scouts, who I have tickets with, he loves Eggenberger, and he didn't realize that he was already passed over. So I kind of scooped him up on him. So he's been giving me the gears on that. Going over to Team Russia, there's a couple people that I'm really excited to watch, and they have a lot of talent. One of the guys, mainly because I have him on my fantasy roster, is Alexiev, the Washington Capitals former first-round pick. And I really got a good taste of Samorukov, who I really liked watching in that OHL Russia game. And the other guy that I've really been into and just been going back and forth with Steve Kornianos on Twitter about who he wrote about and really liked was Krill Slepets. He just really stood out for me in that game. Like, I've only watched him play live once, but he really stood out for me. So I'm kind of pulling for Slepets to make the team, and some other big names that we could be looking for on Team Russia are Klim Kostin, Denisenko, and Vitaly Kratsov. So I just wanted to get your 2 cents on what Team Russia might be all about.
Yeah, so they're always a talented team. They're always a threat for not only a medal, but a gold medal. And I don't think this year will be much different. I look for Russia to be a hard team to beat.
Right.
Klim Kostin, Alexei Hovanov, and Vitaly Kratsov should be their top line. I expect a lot of offense from those guys, right up at the top of the scoring leaders. Klim Kostin's a player I'm really interested in. He's playing in the AHL right now, and this will be, I think, his second season right now in the AHL. Yeah. He was funny draft story about him. I don't know if you remember. He was in the green room.
Green room. He was the last one.
Yeah, and thank God for Vegas coming in and giving the one more pick in the first round.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have gone from the green room to the second round.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
No, that was awkward.
Yeah, it was.
He's a player I like, though. I think he's got an NHL upside. Maybe not going to be the leading scorer in the NHL, and maybe not even the leading scorer on his NHL team. But he'll put up some points for you, and he likes to fight. He takes boxing, so you can get your peripheral. Yeah, he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
And he's Russian.
And we have those stats too, right? Like we're blocks, we're hits, we're PIMs, we're all of the dirty stuff. So that's kind of when I'm building my teams. I kind of build my. I like getting those power forwards. Like I have Vander Kane on my squad, but I also like getting like the dirty D men. Like you'll get 1 or 2 that can get you power play points, but the rest of them I just load up on all the guys that hit and block. That's my go-to.
Well, if Nando Eggenberger is picked in your league, I doubt you'd be able to just pick Klim Kostin up off the waivers.
No.
Maybe you can get him in a trade.
Yeah. No. So go ahead.
That's okay. So their top line kind of goes without saying. It's very interesting. They've got a couple more players on, I think, what would be their second line that could also provide some really good supplementary offense. Grigory Denisenko, who was a pick last year as well, with Ivan Morozov probably on that line as well. And then a third line, which would be really interesting, a line that did some damage in the Russia-Canada series just recently. Ivan Chekovich, Pavel Shen, and Stepan Starkov, who kind of led that tournament for Russia.
Right.
That's a line that I think they had some chemistry. They looked pretty good. They played together on that tour, which is kind of the point of the whole thing for Russia, right? Like, let's see who can get some chemistry, and those guys certainly found some, putting up a point a game about or so each.
Yep.
Ivan Chekovich tearing up the queue this year. He'll be a lock for that roster. And then, you still have some good options after that for a fourth line. Kirill Marchenko and to your point, Krill Slepets haven't even put him on in the top 9. Yeah. So, Russia's going to be deep. So defensemen that I think you can look at, Alexiev, to your point, Ilya Morozov is another player I think will get a lot of minutes for them. And then we saw their goalies in the Subway Series as well, Daniel Tarasov and the other guy, I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, he was a big kid. I forget what his name is too, but he was a big boy.
Yeah, Pyotr Kochkov or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
you did it better justice than I would have. That's for sure. Well, moving over to Group B, we have Team USA, Slovakia, Finland, who you spoke about in your episode, Sweden, and Kazakhstan. Now, why don't we go quick and dirty on Kazakhstan here? I don't know anyone, to be honest with you. Like, I'm looking at it. They don't have one drafted player on their squad. They look to have a bit of a younger team. I don't know much about these guys.
Nope, me neither.
Okay, perfect. Moving on.
Yeah.
The Team USA, again, I get very lucky that I get to watch Kyle Kaiser play for the Oshawa Generals. And, man, like, for a goalie, he's got some jam. Like, you don't want to come in front of his net. When he wins, he cheers. He just gets into it. Like, just the raw emotion that comes out of him when he's watching a game. Like, I love this kid, so I'm pulling for him to get into some games for Team USA. Man, they got Quinn Hughes, they got Anderson and Miller on the back end, and then you got Hughes up front. You got Farabee, Norris, O'Brien, Wallstrom, some big names. What do you like about Team USA this year?
Everything. I think they might be the team. They might be the team to beat.
Yeah.
Look for Jack Hughes to put an exclamation point on his being ranked number one on consensusly on everybody's draft ranking.
Right.
He played with USA with Farabee and Wallstrom last year, so those guys are going to hit the ground running in this tournament. They played all season together, or half of last season together, anyways. Farabee and Wallstrom the whole season, so they'll be very familiar with each other, and that will be extremely valuable in a short tournament like this. And it doesn't get much thinner down the roster after that on forwards. Evan Barrett is leading the NCAA in scoring. He's a St. Louis Blues prospect, I believe. No, Chicago.
Yeah,
prospect.
Chicago. Yeah, you were talking about him in episode 45 as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Josh Norris is looking to be in the middle on the second line, I would think. I think Sasha Chemlewski plays for Ottawa 67s, is going to make this team, and if he does, it'll be in a top six scoring role. He doesn't really have any business being in the bottom six,
Right.
so look for him to make the top six as well. And then they got a whole bunch of players who are very good two-way players like Ryan Tailing, Tyler Madden, Jack Drury, Noah Cates. It'd be really interesting to see, like, they'll be able to play in any situation. So USA can play it physical. They can outscore you. They can play defensively and defend the lead. They've got the guns to come back from behind. Jason Robertson is a really interesting player. I'm very familiar with him playing for the Kingston Frontenacs, and I absolutely love him. He's a fantastic player. He's got such great hands, a knack for the net, sees the ice really well. I'm really interested to see how he does in this tournament, because I watch the things that he does in the OHL, and I'm, that's impressive and it looks great. I'm just not sold that he's going to be able to do that at higher levels,
Right.
specifically the NHL.
Well, I've watched him a couple times this year too when Kingston comes to Oshawa, and before he got traded, and man, like, he looked like a man on an island. Like, he was doing everything for that team, and there was nobody to kind of pass the puck to. but yeah, he definitely stood out to me.
In every game I've seen him play this year, he's been the best player on the ice on either team, and it's not even close. He's just dominating the OHL. But his foot speed is a concern. And while he's not a small guy, he doesn't really play very physically, and he doesn't seem to have any sort of a temper. I see him, I've said this on our show, I've seen him go into the net, trying to jam in loose pucks and dirty rebounds, and that's fantastic. And he gets the business from the defenseman, and he just he skates away. He just, turns the other cheek and skates away, and doesn't even look like he's upset about it, which is great and commendable. But I think at the same, you're not taking stupid penalties. But at the same time, I think you need to create some space for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're in front of the net looking for a rebound, the defenseman is giving you the business end of his stick. Every once in a while, you just got to turn around and punch him in the nose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was just thinking, as you're saying this the whole time, I'm like, Man, that sounds like a Mike Babcock kind of guy. You know, like doesn't
Yeah,
want to. Don't retaliate. We'll get him on the PP.
Sure, and there's a lot to be said about that. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to make it easy for these guys to
No.
take liberties with you.
No,
So,
and we were talking the other day about the Zach Hyman suspension, and you know what, like, you know, I said I'm not going to get into it if you know you want to talk about if it should be a suspension or not. But the fact is I like that he stood up for his teammates. You know, like I don't want to see him hurt anyone, but at the same time, I like the fact that the Leafs are starting to stick up for one another, and that's how you truly bond, and that's how you truly, you know, will go through the wall for one another and build championships. So I'm hoping that they continue on with that. Leaning over to Slovakia, like here's another one where they have one drafted player on their squad, Martin Fehervy from Washington in last year's draft. But I don't know too much about these guys. Like I'm always looking for the next Marty Reway. Remember when Marty Reway was in the World Juniors? He was my favorite player. I think like if I had to put together like an all-world junior team, that version of Marty Reway would be on my all team. Like I loved watching him that year, and I remember I kept him on my farm forever, and everyone would chirp me saying, "Get rid of him! Get rid of him! He's not going to play." And I just held on for hope because I loved him so much at that tournament. And
That's one of the best things about fantasy hockey, right?
Yeah.
You fall in love with these players and you put them on your roster and you cheer for them, and if they make it, it's so rewarding.
I know.
And if they don't, well,
yeah, then whatever. Yeah.
You break up and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Doogie could be that player for the United States this year. If he makes the roster and hopefully for him, one of the other players gets an injury, because if he makes it, I think he'll be the 13th forward. But I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sean Doogie, but this is a player that's easy to fall in love with.
Nice. No,
He's got the Rudy factor going for him.
I'm not familiar with him, but I'm as soon as we get off the phone here, I'm going right to the old Google machine.
He's a high energy player, but he's like 5'4" or something like that. Like he's really small. Like, if he made the NHL, he would come up to Chara's waistline.
Right,
and I'm
right.
not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
No, I know. It's funny. Like now that you've said that, I know who you're talking about because I was talking with a guy the other day, and they were talking about this kid from the U.S. that was like 5'3", and I thought it was a typo. I was like, "Are you sure? 5'3"?
Yeah. He went undrafted, but last summer he was invited to the San Jose Sharks prospect camp, and the fans in San Jose were chanting his name.
Nice. Yeah, fan favorite for sure. You want to see the underdog succeed, right? Like a small guy like that coming into the league, and hey, if you're gonna make it into the show, this is the generation to be 5'3" or 5'4", however big you are.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Craig Button's line that I really like is, "You don't scout with a tape measure," and that's never been more true than today.
Yeah, no, 100%. Moving over to another team that, man, like their defense looks pretty incredible is Team Sweden. And unfortunately, Timothy Liljegren was injured last night, and I heard that he's not going to be reporting to the Sweden camp, which is really unfortunate because I wanted to see him out there. But, you know, hey, you're still left with guys like Adam Boqvist and Eric Brandstrom and the Leafs' Rasmus Sandin. And then, you know, like, I was looking up front, and I didn't see too many people that I was well aware of, but I am interested to watch the Pens prospect, Philip Halinder. Like, what do you think about Sweden's chances for the tourney this year?
Well, I think you're right. Their strength lies on their blue line, and that's not a bad place to be really strong. You can win a short tournament with good defense if you're hard to score against.
Yep.
And they can produce offense from the back end as well. Rasmus Sandin is a player that's been really impressive. He's an 18-year-old kid playing in the AHL, and he's playing good minutes and looking like a veteran out there.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with that. Yeah, you're right, though. Up front, they certainly are lacking any sort of household name. Lucas Elvins, Isaac Lundestrom, and Emil Benstrom look to be their top line, potentially.
Right.
There might be a lot of people listening to the show going, "Say what?
Yeah,
who they?" Yeah. I don't really, quite frankly, have a lot of scouting reports on a lot of these players for Sweden up front either. Rickard Hugg is a player I'm a little bit interested in.
Right.
See if he has that sort of sandpaper game that we look for in our deep pools. playing for Sweden on their fourth line. So that could be something to look for. Oscar Back is another player I don't know a lot about, but I've seen some good highlights from and read some good things. So I'm interested to be able to watch him play as well. Adam Ginning is another player on their defense that I kind of like. Again, another physical sort of player. So I'm excited to see what his game looks like as well. In goal, they've got I guess Ollie Eriksson Ek is probably the most recognizable name.
Yeah.
I'm not completely sold on him, so it'll be interesting to see how he does in this tournament. I think Sweden, they might be in tough to win a medal this year.
Right. Well,
yeah, they're lacking the firepower.
And moving there, who are you thinking would be the top 3 teams to medal this year?
You always have to like Canada,
Yeah.
USA, and Russia. I really like Finland too. The conversation on our last episode left me feeling pretty good about Finland. And if they can get specifically Christian Vesalainen and Eli Tolvanen on their roster, that really shores up their offense, gives them a top 6 with significant firepower. And I think they have some underrated defensemen. They've got Anton Lundell, who's a 2020 draft eligible player. Really interested to see how he does. So Finland will be fun to watch.
That's awesome, man. Well,
they deserve some good luck at the World Juniors too, right?
No, they don't. They won. They won
time.
not too long ago. We need a medal.
Yeah. Well, since then it's been hard times for Finland.
Yeah. Well, buddy, thank
we
you.
won last year.
What's that?
Canada won last year.
No, they didn't. I thought the Americans won last year.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go and circle back on that one. But
Me too.
You know what? Nevertheless, I'm pretty excited to just get back into it. Like, this is my most favorite time of the year. On Boxing Day, I always make sure that I go out with buddies and we go to the pub and we watch that first game there. This year, I'm getting my son into it. He's 7, so we're gonna go out to like a restaurant bar. We're gonna get him settled up here. We're gonna have his Team Canada jersey on. We're gonna go watch the World Juniors. So, the most wonderful time of the year. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the pod. I really appreciate it. Pats and I and all the boys in our pool, we look at Dobber hockey and you guys as fantasy hockey gurus. You have no idea how many arguments Dobber hockey has settled for us and Dobber hockey prospects, and it's definitely a big part of our fantasy hockey environment. So I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for coming on the pod.
No problem. It's labor of love. We love doing the stuff that we do and watching hockey, and the fact that people want to read and listen to us. It's fantastic. So thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate the invitation.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, maybe I'll see you in the ring somewhere.
I hope so. All right, guys, if you want a good follow on Twitter, check Peter at P Harling, and go down to the old podcast catcher or iTunes, and you can download the Dobber Prospect Radio podcast. Thanks again.
Cheers.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all, man.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So I think we're gonna put this one on the next week's episode, and when we send it out, I'll be sure to tweet it all out and put you in there.
I'll give you the retweets and the boosts.
All right, buddy. I love it. All right. Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
All right,
Cheers.
bye. All right, so I got the 2018 and the 2017 World Junior winner mixed up.
Because you're an
in that
idiot.
Well, Harling, I don't know what I feel like. I've missed a year. Like I've just like a year of my life has just
I
been
don't even remember
removed from my
the
brain.
juniors last year.
Yeah,
I don't at all. I don't think I watched very much of it.
No, I watched pretty much all of it. I think I don't know. I feel like it's just been removed from my brain, and all I could think about was when we lost to the States in 2017. But
Was that when we were at the bar?
Yeah,
With Scouts?
yeah, and in Slats.
Slats, yeah. Okay, so I thought that was last year.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
thought it was last year
Yeah,
too.
it just
See?
fucking-
Yeah, you've missed a
I
year
missed.
too.
I didn't miss you. Good thing I wasn't on that interview.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. Yeah, you would have been arguing with
What
me.
are you talking about?
Well-
Fucking wasn't lost.
Well, Peter ended up sending me a DM later on Twitter and basically showing me the link that Canada won, and said, I guess
Would
you
you
guys
argue with him?
no. And well, he said basically you guys are staying true to your name. So and then Pat's piped in and wrote in saying, no, there's only one dummy on this podcast.
Pats is a genius.
Yeah. So we just want to thank Peter for coming on and poking fun and just keeping it light on the pod. So let's transition from that and move over to our prospect report.
Toronto proud to announce from Zurich, Men's League Switzerland, from U.S. program, Austin Matthews.
All right, everyone. Last week we discussed the Pacific Division's top fantasy prospects. This week we're going to talk about the Central Division here. So let's kick it off with the Chicago Blackhawks. At a Dobber fantasy ranking of 8.5, we have Dylan Sakura.
Sakura.
And who did you say is going to be having a Sakura boner about this?
That'll be Habs in our pool.
Yeah, he loves Sakura. He gave up a pretty big piece to get him too, didn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember. I tried to get him when I traded him. What's his face? Jesus, I can't even think of the guy's name. When I got Studnicka off of him,
Right.
I can't remember who Jake Wise. I gave him Jake Wise for Studnicka. I asked for Sakura. He said no.
Right. Well, Sakura is a former 6th-round pick in 2014. He dominated the college ranks for Northeastern for 2 seasons. Like over 73 games, he averaged 1.52 points per game.
That's it? That's pathetic.
Are you kidding me? It's incredible.
No.
He put up solid numbers at the AHL level this season, too. He had 9 goals and 18 points in 26 games. And he's had a sniff at the NHL level. So now it's kind of up to him to stay there, right? Like, it's hard to put up good NHL numbers when you're playing on one of the bottom teams in the league. But at the same time...
And chances are you're not going to get the minutes either, right?
Right. But at the same time, if you are supposed to be one of these top players coming into the team, it's also kind of on you to make the other players around you better.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up to him right now if he wants to stay or go.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully he's here to stay and he can finish off the season with the big boys. But if he's up and down this year, I would expect him to definitely be, start right out of the gate next year. But I can see him finishing the years on the Hawks this year. Moving over to Colorado, at a 9.0, you got Cale Makar. Makar is lighting up UMass Amherst this season with 1.19 points per game. Basically, everything runs through him on the power play, and he's at a plus 10 rating. Makar is expected to be in the Avs lineup next year, full-time next year, and a lot of people think he will, by the end of the year, he'll be on that, running the first power play unit as well. Like that's
For a rookie.
for
a rookie, that's a pretty tall order, but
that is a really tall order. And hey, if he's not on that first power play unit, even if he gets some time on that second unit, that's not a knock on him.
yeah.
He's a young kid, but he's ultra skilled, and he should be putting up good fantasy numbers next year. Moving over to Dallas, goaltender Jake Ottinger with a fantasy ranking of 9.5. Ottinger's putting up another solid campaign for Boston U this year. He has a 2.59 goals against average and a 924 save percentage throughout his 16 starts. The former 2017 first rounder is 6'4", 215 pounds, and can really handle the puck. Ottinger is a goalie of the future for Dallas, no doubt about it. But he's definitely going to need some seasoning in the AHL.
Right.
Like he's not just going to come right from Boston U and go right into the show. But he's definitely going to be the future of Dallas Stars goaltending. Moving over to the Minnesota Wild, you got Kirill Kaprizov with a fantasy ranking of 9.5.
Sounds like some sort of like seafood dish.
Yeah, exactly. Like he would have like crab legs.
Cream of Kaprizov.
Right. That sounds a little dirty.
Yeah, good.
Well, if he decides to come to the NHL, he's immediately going to be a top 6 player in the Wild. He currently has 15 goals and 25 points in 35 games with CSKA Moscow. Based on his current contract, the earliest that he would actually come over is 2020. But man, if he can come over, like that's That's the kind of game breaker that Minnesota needs. Like they don't really have.
They seem like a really boring
Boring
shitty
team.
team.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
hate
I
watching
even I
Minnesota.
forget that they're even in the league half the
Yeah.
time. Because it's just like, oh, it's Minnesota. They're just kind of there.
I know. Like even just
You know?
talking about Charlie Coyle earlier, I was just like,
Even their uniforms are boring.
they are. They're
It's just
boring
like-
and bland, and like they're like. Oh.
I don't know. Maybe it's because their name.
I don't
Wild.
know. I don't like the wild. Like
Wild.
they should have went back to the green and yellow, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on.
But I don't know. Anyways, if they can get him, I honestly don't think he's coming over. Kathy said he's not coming over.
I thought you said he was.
No, she
Oh,
said
he's
that-
not coming.
That he's not coming. So,
Well, she has been wrong a couple times.
but she's been right more than she's been wrong.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, moving over to Nashville, they have Patrick Harper at a fantasy ranking of 7.5.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, I didn't know too much about Patrick Harper either. He was a former 5th-round pick by the Preds in 2016, and he's actually taken a step back this year playing for Boston U. Last year, Harper averaged just over a point a game with 21 in 20 games. This season, he's a -3, and he only has 7 points in 16 games. So he projects to be a middle six center, but
Closer to the bottom.
probably. I honestly, I think I can see him being more of a third line center.
Yeah.
But I still think that he's years away from developing into that as well.
Right.
So I think if you're a Patrick Harper owner, you're still going to have a couple more years left here. St. Louis Blues, Dobber has Klim Kostin as a fantasy ranking of 8. And you can get a front row look at Kostin at this year's World Junior Championship as he'll suit up for Russia. The former first-round pick is in his second year pro playing with San Antonio. Last year he had 28 points in 67 games. He's a little behind this year's pace with 11 points in 28 games. But depending on what the Blues are going to do, excuse me, if they end up blowing things up, like
Which they should do.
at least a little bit, Kostin's definitely not going to be anybody that they're going to be moving,
Right.
and that he is a big part of their future. So depending on what they do, I can see him stepping into the team next year.
Right.
But I would expect him to make the team, but I'm not sure what his fantasy impact is going to be, at least right away.
Probably not much on that squad.
No. Well, I think of like Barbashev, and we always used to joke about how, we thought he was a stud and that, everyone had a Barba boner. And it's just like, you don't want to, paint him in the same picture, but, the Russian factor and playing on the Blues and coming up through the system. So
Right.
I'm hoping that he does a little bit better. The Blues need him to be better than what Barbashev has become.
Right.
So we will see what happens there. The Winnipeg Jets, they have Luke Green, has a fantasy ranking of 8.0. Green is a former third-round pick of the Jets in 2016. This year for Manitoba, he's got a goal and 3 points in 11 games, and he's a -5. He's considered to be your prototypical modern-day defenseman that can skate and move the puck, but he's not, putting up any big numbers. And from what I've been reading on him, is that he's still years away from being an everyday
Right.
NHLer.
I
But,
think Niku's ahead of him.
yeah, he is. But Niku's been playing in the show. So
Well,
and I guess Sakura has
He's had a
been too,
handful of
but-
games.
Yeah, I've been trying to stay away from people that are in the NHL. But I know Sakura.
That's okay because Niku's back in the AHL.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go. Well, and a funny thing is we talked the other one of the other episodes we talked about Henrik Borgstrom on Florida,
Right.
And we were like, well, I don't know what they're doing. Like Vinny Trocheck got hurt. Like I thought Borgstrom was going to make it out of camp. He didn't. He lights up the AHL. Vinny Trocheck gets hurt. They still didn't bring him up, but now they finally brought him up,
Right.
and he looked pretty good.
Right.
He looked pretty good. So good on Borgstrom for getting up there and getting into the show. Got a few.
Pick 'em up.
Pick 'em up right now. Got a few little quick hits from getting into the World Junior Championships here. The St. Louis Blues announced that forward Robert Thomas will not be loaned to Team
I
Canada.
fucking hate that.
Right? Yeah. Like
I
why
hate
not?
it. Your team stinks. Now I get it from like even from a developmental
Yeah. Right.
standpoint. Let him have that World Junior experience. Like what? Like
Yeah,
he's not going to do anything
let
for
him
the
go to a
Blues this
winner.
year. Seriously,
it
like learn something. Like,
It would
come
be
on.
different if the Blues were battling for a playoff spot and they needed him. But yeah, you're right. Like they stink.
Yeah, like just
let him
fucking
go
let
there
him go.
and lead.
It's ridiculous.
Well, the Detroit Red Wings can still help out. They have until December 19th to decide if they want to loan Michael Rasmussen to Team Canada.
Do it.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
All of these, they should all do it.
He would definitely be on the team right away, and especially now that we've lost Alex Formenton, who was a lock to be on the team.
Karma, bitch.
Yeah, he was ruled out with an ankle injury. So, yeah. Oh,
It's that
was
Uber
he
ride.
in the Uber?
He was in the Uber.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
God!
why.
It is karma.
Exactly. Duchesne's hurt.
Duchesne's hurt.
Everybody's screwed.
Everybody
They're all-
stinks.
What's his face got traded? Weidman got traded.
Oh my God! Well, but
They're slowly picking off the Uber driver
Oh
fucking
man!
guys.
If you have Shabbat, trade him now.
Oh,
because
seriously. No,
he's
Shabbat's the one
next.
guy that's going to stay.
It's like Final Destination.
You know
but
what?
from
You know
the
what it
Uber
was?
car.
It was Shabbat actually was the mastermind behind that, just so he can get rid of all the dead weight on the team.
Yeah, he was telling people what to say.
He's like, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fucking blow this team up."
He got the Uber driver to post it.
Exactly. He posted it, not even the Uber driver.
I wonder if it was Shabbat who called the Uber driver. Like
Hey,
who
buddy.
called the Uber?
Hey, buddy, remember that conversation the other night? Yeah, post that.
That's really who's at fault, man. Whoever the person was that called that Uber driver.
Yeah.
Well, moving over to the way Team Canada's looking is the goalies are locked. You got Michael DiPietro and Ian Scott will be the goalies for Team Canada.
Ian Scott.
The defense are locked in. You got Evan Bouchard, Ty Smith, Noah Dobson. We have McIsaac, Mitchell, Phillips, and Brook. So my boy, Marcus Phillips, makes the team. The guy who I scouted at the OHL Russia game and packed him up.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, and I'm looking at this, and we have 3 left-handed shots and 4 right-handed shots. So
Right.
of the group, I'm thinking that Brook or Mitchell will determine who's going to be the 6th and 7th D-man.
Okay.
Just my opinion. So we'll see what happens there. Right now, the forwards are down to 14, so one still needs to get cut. May I suggest Mackenzie Entwistle?
Because of his pee-wee skating.
Well, I don't like his skating, and he takes bad penalties, and I just don't think we need him to succeed.
Right.
But who we have left of the 14 forwards are Entwistle, Anderson Dolan, that's one player.
He should go.
Bowers, Comtois, Frost, Glass, the Frosty Glass combo.
Frosty Glass.
Hayton, Lafreniere, Leeson, Studnicka,
Nika.
Suzuki, Tippett, Veleno, and Velarde. So I think we have a pretty solid squad.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Once we get rid of Entwistle, and then
It's like one of these things just doesn't belong.
yeah, and then if Rasmussen comes in, I don't know, they can lose somebody else now.
The hyphenated guy.
Right. Well, I've been shitting on Owen Tippett a lot just because I really haven't liked him this year.
You don't like just the tip?
Just the tip. He didn't impress me, and I don't know. Like maybe it was just the games that I saw, and maybe there's a lot more that he can give. I just haven't seen it, so I'm. It looks like he's going to make the squad, and everybody seems to be raving about him on TSN. Like when I see Craig Button talk about Owen Tippett, I'm like, okay, easy.
Craig
Button.
Button's the weirdest looking dude ever.
He looks like he should be like in Whoville.
Yeah, exactly. He's got
Yeah.
that real button nose.
Yeah, he looks like a Who.
Yeah.
So, anywho, I don't know. I see people like just going gaga over him, and I don't know. And the one thing that kind of jumped out at me in all of this is, so Finland is going to be without Christian Vasilinen for the tournament because he turned it down. They asked him.
That's a new one.
That's a new one, right? To play for Jokerit, to
Wow,
stay in the
okay.
KHL.
Okay.
Really? Like, why wouldn't you want to go and represent your country?
I
Like,
don't know.
There's got to. I would hope that there's a lot more behind it. But that is a new one for me,
Yeah, there maybe there'll be something else that comes out about that. But yeah, that is kind of weird.
isn't it? Well, that just about does it for this week, pal. As you're all well aware, we here at the Hockey Dummies are strong advocates for mental health awareness. Mental health awareness means recognizing that mental illness is as real as any physical illness. So if you feel depressed, speak up, talk with a friend, and contact your doctor. You can even tweet to us, and we'll always be there for you. Tune in next week as we'll be getting back in the saddle with Psychic Kathy.
Psychic Kathy.
Yeah, she's coming on. She's going to give us, we're going to bust her balls a
I'm
little
gonna
bit
fucking
about,
lose my shit on her.
about the things that have come true and the things that haven't. And we're also going to get her World Junior Hockey predictions. So if you want to ask Kathy anything on the pod next week, shoot us a line on Twitter and use the hashtag AskKathy.
Wait, isn't it Ask Psychic Kathy, the hashtag?
Whoever, just send the tweet to us.
As long as it's us and we see it, then we'll ask her.
And then we'll ask her. So
yeah.
give us a follow on Twitter. We're at Hockey Dummies, and Facebook and Instagram at The Hockey Dummies. Don't forget to subscribe.
Now I'ma say this one time, boy, and that's my word.
We rock the shot to knock fire through the Hindenburg.
The contribution is clear. You add water to bone and get the Jurassic vibe on the microphone.